Again, like always, I appreciate you guys for allowing me to come and share some things with you that I feel like can motivate you to do some great things. And so tonight, what I decided to do is to give you a peek into the new book that I'll be writing, but it'll be, it's 2 years off because I'm still in the process of making the other book a bestseller. But, like always, when you're a writer, you're always thinking about the next thing. And so tonight I decided I want to give you a peek into the new book that I'll be writing. And the title of it is called The Immaculate Concept of Me. When I change the view of how I see me, my whole world changes. The Immaculate Concept of Me. Okay? And so the first thing we want to do is I want to start out by showing you this video. And what I want to do is I'm going to make it short because at the end, I know most of you guys have a chance to read the book. At the end, I want to give you 10 minutes or so to, ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions for you. So please, if you will, let's look at this video.
After being cut from his high school basketball team, he went home, locked himself in his room, and cried. He wasn't able to speak until he was almost 4 years old, and his teachers said he would never amount to much. Was demoted from her job as a news anchor because she wasn't fit for television. Fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination and having no original ideas. At age 11, he was cut from his team after being diagnosed with a growth hormone deficiency, which made him smaller in stature than most kids his age. At 30 years old, he was left devastated and depressed after being unceremoniously removed from the company he started. A high school dropout whose personal struggles with drugs and poverty culminated in an unsuccessful suicide attempt. A teacher told him he was too stupid to learn anything, and that he should go into a field where he might succeed by virtue of his pleasant personality. Rejected by Decca recording studios, who said, "We don't like their sound. They have no future in show business." His first book was rejected by 27 publishers. His fiancée died, failed in business, had a nervous breakdown, and was defeated in 20 elections. If you've never failed, you've never tried anything new.
Thank you.
All right. Real quick, I want to get one or two comments about the video that you just saw. What comes to your mind when you looked at that video?
Wow.
That when one door closes, another door opens if you keep going forward.
Okay. Yes.
That you can't let people stop you from your dreams.
Okay. One more comment. Okay, thank you. And we'll be coming back to that video. I just wanted to set it up. But the book is called The Immaculate Concept of Me. And one reason I started thinking about this concept years ago, as a teacher one thing I noticed is that there were some kids, because you know kids can be cruel, there were some kids that when kids talk about them and say mean things to them, they was able to reflect it, you know, without any problems. Then there were other students, when kids say bad things and mean things to them, it got them frustrated and they wanted to fight. And so I started to thinking, what makes one group of individuals able to reflect things easily, while the other group, you know, it affects them in a tremendous way. Sometimes, you know, it affects them for months, for years, on down the line because of what somebody said. And so, those are the things that got me to thinking about this concept, the Immaculate Concept of Me. And the way I want to show it to you is I want to show you how, when I do our risk reduction class, because that's what I do, I teach. I'm a certified risk reduction teacher in the state of Georgia. And what we do is we get people that have been in trouble, you know, for DUI, you know, people that are addicted to drugs and they're in rehab. You know, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to educate them, give them knowledge, you know, about the situation that they're facing. Some of them are not necessarily addicted yet, but they're on the road to it. And so our job is to prevent. And so in order to prevent, we have to educate. And so one of the things we do is we talk about risk. There's two types of risk. And right now I want you to think of it as we're talking about addiction. There's a trigger for addiction. Okay, and just imagine right now that I'm the trigger point. Okay, and everybody in this room is, you know, capable of becoming addicted to drugs, alcohol. Everybody is. We don't think like that, but we are. And I'm the trigger point. So if I was to ask you guys to stand up, you'll notice that we're all at different points from the trigger point. Some of you are closer, you know, some of you are further away. And so what we do when we teach risk is we want to show that sometimes there's risk that we can change and there's risk that we cannot change.
Uh-oh.
What happened? But we have risks that we can change and we have risks that we cannot change. Now, one of the risks that we cannot change is biological. We can't change the fact that we're born into a family where we have a history of alcoholism, a history of drug addiction. And even if we're talking about some forms of cancer, or we're talking about heart disease, we can't determine what family we're born into. So some of our family members, we're going to have histories of heart disease. But there are some risks that we can change. And those risks that we can change, if you're talking about heart disease, one of the things that they tell us is that if we exercise, right, if we eat the right kinds of food, and then we reduce our risk of reaching that trigger point. Okay, so for example, again, I'm the trigger point right here. And everybody has the capability of becoming addicted. Now, some of us are closer because of our biology, because of our makeup, and so it don't take you as long to get here as it does Brandon. It takes Brandon a little bit longer to get here. And so we have risks we can change. And another example that we give is we can't control when it rains, but we can control how wet we get, okay? Because we can get an umbrella and it'll reduce the amount of wetness that we get, right? But then again, we can't control the lightning, right? So it's still a possibility that even though we have an umbrella, you know, we can still get struck by the lightning. But what we're talking about is the risk, reducing the risk. And that means that we're less likely to. And we don't have a book. Normally we'll have a book. And this is what I want to get to. This is the formula that we teach. Biology, something you can't do anything about. Choices. Something that we can do about. Choices. Our choices either put us closer to our trigger point. That means put us closer to having heart disease. Puts us closer to being addicted to alcohol. You know, so the main thing is choices. And today what I want you to imagine is not alcohol and drug addiction, not heart disease. I want you to imagine that instead of this being a trigger, this is success. This is success. And it's the same way. Some of us, because of our biology, we're closer to our success than others. Some of us are further away. And the reason I say that is because I know people that can open a book and they can read something, you know, 5 pages, and they can understand it just like that. Okay? For me, I have to read those 5 pages a couple of times before I can understand. Okay? So some people have, you know, things that they were born into that allows them to be able to comprehend things a lot faster than I can. Okay? It takes me a lot more work than somebody else to get to where I want to be. Okay? But the point is that I can still get here. I can still get here. Now, what I found when I'm talking about those students, the reason that the young lady, because I observed a couple of times, the young man just, you know, he just flat out told her, "You so ugly, get away from me." Okay, and I was getting ready to get on him, but I had to ask her, I said, "Why didn't that get you upset?" And she said, "Coach, because I know he couldn't have been talking to me because I'm not ugly." Okay? And then we look at other people and they get all frustrated and mad and they want to fight. And I found out the reason they want to fight is because when they call them ugly, because they don't have a good perception of themselves, they may already have a problem about how they look now anyway. And so it affects them more than it affects the other person. So, how we feel about self determines how soon we get to this success level. Okay? And the choices that we make. Because again, remember, some people are born a little bit closer. Okay? Because they have things. And that's, you know, it's nothing wrong with that. You know, but the thing is that we all can get here. Michael Jordan, he was cut from his basketball team in the 10th grade. Okay? And he cried all day. But let me tell you what he was crying for. He wasn't crying because he didn't think he was good enough. He was crying because he thought he was good enough to make the team and he didn't. And so he decided that I'm going to work so hard that the coach is not going to have a choice but to put me on the team. And the rest is history. He became the best as a senior. He was the #1 high school player in the nation. He went to the University of North Carolina. He was the #1 college player in the nation. And then he went to the NBA. And today, in my opinion, he's still the best player we ever saw. You know, this coming from a kid that was cut and cried for a whole day. But the one thing that he did was he had a great concept of himself. His view of him, he knew he was good enough to make the team, but the coach didn't think he was good enough. Okay? So that means he kept trying and he didn't give up. Oprah, she was told that she was not good enough to do television. Okay? But in her mind, she said, I'm good enough. I can do whatever I want to do. Okay, and years later, she has her own television station. Okay? So, that's the thing that we saw in the video. It's all about the Immaculate Concept of Me. How do I view myself? Because if I view myself in a negative way, life is going to be much, much harder. Okay? Problems are going to be more difficult for me to overcome, because the one thing that I can tell you right now, young people, older people, you live long enough, you're going to have some trials. You're going to have some problems. You are. I believe that those trials are necessary to make us who we are. If you're a Christian, you know, in the Bible it tells us, in James, he says that we need to rejoice in our trials and tribulations. Okay? Because he said the working of your faith brings perseverance. And you got to let perseverance have its perfect work so that you can be complete. Okay? And so what he was saying was that each test or each trial that we face and we don't give up and we overcome makes it easier for us to overcome the next trial. And it's all about how I feel about me. And so I found out that that was the key for my students. And so guess what I started doing? That's why I started doing mindset. Because I wanted to teach my students that they had everything in them. It's nothing different between them and people that they think are smart. The only difference is they believe in themselves, and they believe that even though they fail, they know the failure is not because of their ability. The failure is because they need to try harder. That's what all of these individuals know. They knew that just because I fail don't mean that I have to give up.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Perry, for 6 years, this guy saved every little dime he had, tax money, and all he wanted to do, he had one goal, he wanted to do a play. So every year he did a play. The first year he invited a lot of people to come. Only 25, 15 people showed up the first one. Second year, did the same thing, saved all his money, you know, paid thousands of dollars for this venue to put on the play. 25 people showed up. And so for years, he was basically throwing away money for years. Until finally the 7th year, it caught on. And the rest is history. But the thing that we got to see with Tyler Perry is most people would have gave up after the 2nd year. Some of us would have gave up after the 3rd year. Some of us would have gave up after the 4th year. But the bottom line, he didn't give up because he knew that he had within him the thing that is going to take him to be successful. Okay? And that's what inspired me to write the book, is because working with students, you get a chance to observe a lot of things. Working with students, you get a chance to observe many different aspects of their personalities and how some kids are able to deflect things easily while others have a difficult time reflecting. And those that are able to reflect things easily, that's the thing. They're on a much closer road to their success because they don't let what people say stop them.
Amen.
They don't let what people say cause them to get all frustrated for days, and some people for years. They don't. And I told y'all this story one time, I don't know if you remember it, but I had a student in the classroom. And he didn't need to be in my class because I teach students that emotional behavior disorder. Okay, so they get upset when they can't do things, when things are too difficult for them. You know, they want to get out. They want to escape. So the one thing that they'll do, they'll throw tables and chairs over. You know, they'll get upset, and the whole time they're trying to get out of what we're doing. And so one day I had a student in the class, they put him in class, and I had been observing this student because, you know, it's a difference between students that have what we call EBD, emotional behavior disorder, and a kid that is just BAD. It's a big difference. The kid that is EBD don't understand what they're doing. They don't. Because they don't have those skills yet to be able to resolve conflict. But the kid that is BAD, he knows exactly what he's doing. And this is in my second year teaching. This is what I observed. I said, I'm going to watch this kid. I'm just going to listen to what he does. Student goes out to the restroom. And he's talking right now to the other student. He's saying, watch it. When he comes back to the classroom, I'm going to say one thing. Watch, he don't go crazy. Mr. Worthing will have to restrain him, throw him on the floor. You know, and I didn't stop him because I want to see what going on. Sure enough, student comes through the door. He says one thing, and the kid goes off. And I have to restrain him, and he gets in trouble. Okay? So, if we have a bad perspective of how we see ourselves, things that people say can really frustrate us. And it gives them really the power over you. Do you think when people say stuff to get you all riled up and frustrated, you don't think they know that's what they're doing? Yes, because somebody have already told them, hey, Wanda, man, she gonna go off, man. All you have to do is say one thing, she gonna go off.
You just use me as an
Yeah. But see, they already know. And so actually, you know, you allow people to control you. And a lot of people have missed out on a lot of great opportunities. They lose jobs because they flip out. They lose it because of what people say, because of what people do. Okay? We just saw, this is just a few people that we saw in that video. They didn't care. Thomas Edison teachers called them stupid. Okay? Because it doesn't matter what people